All right, everyone, we're here for episode 70. Man, 70 dang episodes of Stub Luv Live. We've got Eric Naierman as the guest. Eric is VBG Club. He's also known as the dentist. We're going to talk about all kinds of crazy stuff tonight. Should be a good one. Let's run. VBG in the house.
How's it going?
What's going on?
I just want to say for the record that was my Mantle and my Gretzky debut in your intro. Just for the record. But I won't charge you copyright or anything.
I'm not paying it. So you're not getting it from me.
All right.
Well, I'm always happy to have you on. You're a pretty polarizing figure in the collectibles world. And, all I see is you fighting with this idiot on Instagram. So it's actually kind of fun to watch. But I like to talk to you about, real stuff.
Yeah. It's good to talk about real stuff. Sometimes arguments get out of hand, but you're all in it to have fun for sure.
So the first thing I'm going to say to you, and I kind of heard Cage Lawyer, my man Cage, say it today. Is this new hobby market? Is it a bull market or is it a bull market?
It's both. It's an art bull market, which is a bullshit market. That's what I always say. Just to address that real quick, and I say this all the time, and I know you hear from me, is that if you're looking for a market that's going to make sense or be logical or be absolutely ethical according to your ethical standards, then this is not the market for you. And I believe none of the markets are for you if you really look into it. But these run on weird trends, shady people. You definitely have to traverse carefully, because if you're too naive, you could get screwed. But if you're too eyes wide open and judgmental, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. It's funny. You said that to me. I have it for later in the show, but we can talk about it now. You said that to me and it was very poignant. I think we were talking about why I can't understand why someone cuts the signature off a Jackie Robinson check, glues it onto a modern day card, and the autograph sells as a one-of-one card for $10,000. But if I were to try to sell the check, the full check, not cut, not damaged, not touched,
right,
it's going to sell for $3,500. Like I couldn't see it. And you're like, well, you're being too logical. You've got to let the illogical mind take over.
That's true. There's a couple things going on there. First of all, you're being too logical for sure. Also, I find that, this market is always driven by the next generation. And I found that things that us 40-year-olds like, you're a little bit older than me, but like the younger people actually want what we don't want, because they don't want us, telling us what to do, A, and B, they know you're going to be, in your rocking chair in 20 years with your tickets, and you're not going to be part of their market when they're 40-year-olds and really killing it. So that's something. And the last thing that you need to talk about is portability. Yeah. It's just so different. And especially what I see with my kids, we keep Sabbaths. So Saturday, my house is like a little card trade show. All the kids come with their boxes and boxes of cards, and they're throwing around the slabs. They don't want to throw around jerseys and documents and checks, and that's just not cool. You want to have a slab, and the whole story has to be within a slab. And I think that's a big part of it, these cut autos and these one-of-ones, because you have to be able to just put that in someone's face and say, look, it's stamped one-of-one. It's everything's in here, and therefore it has value. And that's what the younger people really relate to.
Yep. I agree. I thought about it a lot since we had lunch and we talked about it, and I think you're right. You're right. So is this a bubble, Eric? Is this COVID times two? Or is this just reality that the card prices and memorabilia prices and ticket prices and everything have just hit a new level? You know, the word that everyone's using is it's very frothy. It's
Right.
very frothy. But is
Yeah.
it real?
Yeah. It's both, I think, you know, like everyone says, it's like cliche, but like some cards will continue up healthily, some cards will crash. We all like thought we were geniuses in 2021, but now looking back, we all know that that was literally our first time experiencing anything like that with the little tchotchkes that we you know would collect. So we were all, you know, pretending like we knew something. Now we actually all have a little bit of hindsight of what a bubble market looks like. And again, you could say that, oh, if we have hindsight, then it should never happen like that again. No, it will, because people will always be people, and they'll act insensical, and they'll spend money insensical. And we'll get into that in a few minutes. The idea of during a bull market, these prices might seem absurd, but money, I think, takes on less value when you're spending profits. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but again, I think the fact that we have some hindsight now, we actually have a little bit of clarity on what probably will continue and what probably will correct heavily.
And you are predicting that there'll be some heavy corrections on some of this stuff.
Yeah, there has to be. There just has to be. I mean, when you look at a card, obviously I bring up the Messi and all these things where, you know, the chart looks straight up like that, and the pop is, I don't know, in the 80s, 90s, 100s. You know, everyone's looking to sell it at the same time, and I don't. It's not the case that everyone just woke up yesterday and decided that they need that Messi in their collection. Obviously, right? Because where were they buying this months ago? So with the population and the fact that, you know, each one can't sell for 50K plus, there's just not enough money out there if people are willing to do it. I think it's bound to correct. It might be a small correction, it might be a big correction, but you know, it's going to be probably a correction.
Yeah, as more come out of the woodwork, you would think people are looking to capitalize, but the prices are going to go down.
Yeah, I see it even with that. I just bought a PSA 10 LeBron Bowman Chrome. It's Pop 11, and I bought one, and 4 have sold since I bought. Okay,
Wow.
not that it's sold. They've gone up for sale. I don't know if they actually transacted yet. They were all about the same price that I paid, so I think it'll steadily stay at that price. But and I didn't even announce how much I paid for it. But just the fact that I bought a big card, I announced it. It's Pop 11. 4 or 5 of them just hit the market. People, you know, people are going to sell when it's time to cash out. And you know, for a Pop 11, I'm not too nervous about it. Especially because I know it goes to like pretty high end collectors. But you know, a Pop 200 on a $40,000 card that should be 10,000 or less is scary.
I agree. I guess that's the good thing. You know, it is a ticket show, so we gotta stay, you know, on the line with the tickets. But I think that's good for tickets because at the end of the day, if someone potentially overpays now for a ticket, that's fine. But or pays high now. I shouldn't say overpay. Pay high now for a ticket. The good thing is most of the time in the ticket world, you're not going to see 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 come out of the woodwork because we just don't have them.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just scarce.
We're going to get into that, but like there are so many that I bought and sold during the hype of tickets. I don't know, it was like end of 2021, beginning of 2022, that I figured, okay, I'm selling at a high. I'll buy it back for less later. And I technically could buy it back for less later, but they haven't sold. So who knows? By the time maybe that I could see one again, it will be the same price I paid back then.
We'll get to that. Yeah. So Kevin O'Leary, he buys this Jordan Kobe logo man sign card. And let me bring this up. I wanted to make sure that let me see if I have some savvy today in being able to share my screen. Because I did want to talk about it. Can we all see it? I think we can see it. I got to add it to the stage. Okay. So Kevin O'Leary buys this $13 million Kobe LeBron sign, Kobe Jordan sign logo man card. He pays $13 million for it. Eric, did he want to break the record for the highest card sold ever? Because I think he did.
Yeah. For sure. I think you were talking about Cage Lawyer. I think he mentioned this, and I really enjoyed his take on it the next day, where it was Kevin O'Leary spending $13 million on marketing what he's doing right now, which is
Yep.
buying high-end cards.
Yep. And I saw something recently that he came out and said, I've got this huge collection of cards now. I mean, it's not just the Jordan Kobe logo man. I've got a ton of great cards.
Well, I assume that a lot of the high-end cards that Shine has been posting in the last 3-4 months have been his purchases, by the way.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. But I mean, I absolutely want to believe, and I think it's true, that he wanted to buy the most. He wanted to pay the most for the card because he wanted to get all the attention. He wanted to get all the pump. He wanted to get all the hype. And you know what, Eric? I haven't heard of a single underbidder or someone who was all in on that card other than Kevin O'Leary and Shine.
Right. So that's where it gets a little shady. Who was the underbidder who was allowing him to bid to the highest? That's where it gets a little weird.
Paging Ken Golden. Can someone tell? I mean, paging Ken Golden. I mean, someone. I would hope it was someone real, but I mean, why did it go so high?
Right. Yeah. It's that's what happens in unregulated markets, and that's why you have to take a sale like this as a little bit of a grain of salt, I think.
You know who I actually think was the underbidder? Seriously. It could have been like a Michael Rubin or someone from Fanatics, because they're looking to pump. They have so much money invested in the modern card market. So maybe it's someone like that. Maybe it's a Fanatics who's like, hey, you know what? Wouldn't it be great to get all this pub on all these on a modern card record? And it helps us because they've got so much invested. Isn't it kind of strange that it's this card and not a vintage card, not a Honus Wagner card? I mean, it's weird, right?
Yeah, it's very weird. Again, I wouldn't take it so seriously, other than the fact that it's really good PR for the hobby.
I mean, it's also manufactured scarcity. You know, Eric, you and I've talked about it. I respect what anyone wants to collect, and I love the fact that Kevin's coming into the hobby. But at the same time, Eric, someone produced this. It's not really scarce. It's scarce because
we can get back into that. I think it's a $2 to $3 million card.
Right. Right. But it's not a $13 million card.
Right. Yeah.
There's just no way. I mean, that just doesn't work that way. Okay. So let's talk a little bit. I want to ask you this question. Let me flip this out for a second. Let me bring it. I'm going to bring this one on. The question that I have, and it's crazy here. I'm gonna pull it up. Who in the hell is Uncle Jimmy?
My hero. He's my hero. He's my hero, and I was very happy to own his greatest card that he collected over his lifetime for a short amount of time.
Who is this guy? He sounds like he's got no family other than not direct family. He's never been married. He's got no kids. It's just weird. Who is this guy? And he's chasing around male ball players around ballparks.
Yeah, it's the dream story, right? I mean, of just how much time and effort he put into it. The fact that he didn't have any direct descendants to give it to or sell too long ago. He also happened to have died right before the pandemic and the biggest card pump ever. Hence why I had to pay so much for it at the time. So, but it always reminded me of the Lucky 7 find. I don't know if you remember that, of the Ty Cobbs.
I don't know it.
So the red Ty Cobb, the T206, there's different backings, different companies in the back.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yes.
The rarest one is the one that actually says Ty Cobb.
Right, I saw that. Yes.
I think there was 5 or 6 known copies to exist when I started collecting in 2016-17. And then there was some paper bags someone found in an attic of an old house that had 7 of them in it. It was the most wild story. And I remember they all went to auction. I think Probstein bought one. I was holding one at the National. And I was not in the league to buy one at the time. But I remember thinking wow, the fact that it got a pedigree and the story is amazing. I wanted to buy one and be part of the story, but I didn't have the means to or the idea to at the time. So that came and went. And then when the Uncle Jimmy happened, it like rekindled this idea. I'm like, this is the lucky find number 2.
So,
And I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to buy one.
and you did. So tell people what this Uncle Jimmy, and it actually is your Ruth card. So you bought a 1933 Gaudi signed Babe Ruth card that this gentleman, Uncle Jimmy, went and got signed in person by Babe Ruth. The autograph was flawless. It was an unbelievably pristine looking card. The red popped on the card, and you and your investors paid just under $800,000 for the card. Am I correct?
Correct. Yes.
And I guess my understanding is, without me saying too much, is you recently sold it. So let's go back. When did you buy the Uncle Jimmy card?
February of 2021.
Okay. So it's now, what, August, September of when you sell the Ruth card?
Yeah.
So what's that? A few years?
Yeah, just under 5 years, I think. Or
yeah.
Yeah.
And you sold it, we'll just say, for more than $1 million.
Yeah, well over $1 million. Yeah.
So you're happy. Your investors are happy. It sounds like the person who bought it was also happy. Why was this the right time, Eric? We're talking about, the market. Is it a bubble? Is it not a bubble? Is it a bull? Is it going to be a bear? I mean, why was this the right market? Why was this the right time to get rid of the Uncle Jimmy Ruth?
I don't know if there's ever a right time to get I mean, I'm sure that there is never a right time to get rid of that card, just to answer your question. So no, it's not the right time, but it was a good time. A couple of reasons. First of all, when I'm in a group, I have to be sensitive to when people want their money out and when, they're ready to move on. I definitely could say my partners were not chomping at the bit to sell it, but it was an offer that was more than fair, very, very well priced. It was a direct payment, very easy transaction. And it was just a good time for people to get some money back. And I also knew it was going to a collection where you're never going to see it again, and someone who really appreciated what they're getting. Those are the main factors. The other factor is like it grew, but it grew like 10, 15% or something like that a year. It wasn't like a card that was going to, it might explode one day. I don't know in value, but it wasn't explosive. So, we're also coming into what I believe is a bull market, and I'm reinvesting in cards that I think will do a little better in the upcoming bull market, which I did. And I, took some money off the table to pay some personal expenses. I got some personal things coming up, and I'm really excited to spend it on my kids and my family.
That's great. That's great. Because I really want to say, I mean, I've heard it called the best signed Babe Ruth card in the world.
It's for sure the best. There's no question. I've seen them all. It's like, it's not even close. Even the guy who brokered the deal has some of the other ones, and they were all on the table together. I showed her on my Instagram. It's like this one is it's in a different world.
It was crazy. I guess the last question, and maybe you've answered it, but if this market is now at a new place and we're going to continue to see it go, why not wait? But I mean, you've given us some reason, but why not tell your investors, hey, let's wait anher year. Hey, let's wait another year and a half.
We discussed it, but the consensus was the price. The price is right, and a couple of them didn't want to sell, but the consensus was to sell, and that's what we decided when we bought it. That when we have a consensus, that's when we make the move.
Gotcha. Next thing I want to talk about. You are a smart collector investor. We have seen during COVID, Michael Jordan rookie cards, PSA slabbed as a grade of 10, sell for upwards of $800,000.
Mm-hmm.
They don't sell for $800,000 anymore. They were selling probably in the $150,000 range for a long time. So pretty big bump downward from where we were in COVID. And we're trying to stay and talk intelligently about, markets and where this market is. These cards are now getting closer to the $350,000, $400,000 value again.
Yep.
Do we ever see $800,000 for these PSA 10 Jordans?
Without a doubt. I mean, I don't know if it's in a year or in 5 years, but you could quote me that we're going to see 800 for these again.
Yeah. I guess the question is, do we see 800 and they stay at 800?
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but I think so. I think at a point, again, I don't know when, but at some point, I believe at some point it'll stay at 1 million. These cards.
Um, so we saw people buy these during the pandemic, these Jordan cards, 800 grand. Now they're down. They were down to 100, 150. They're now getting back into that, 350, maybe even, 400, $400,000 neighborhood. You're a pretty astute collector. You're a pretty astute investor in these collectibles. I guess I come back and say, you're still not perfect and you can make mistakes here and there. I'm not saying this is a mistake, but let's talk about this.
That one's definitely not a mistake.
I agree. This was not a mistake, but let's backpedal. And let me say this first, Eric. I respect you a lot. You and I have become friends. I like you very much. One of the things I said to you was, before we come on here, I want to talk about these things. I want to talk about the fact that someone as knowledgeable and good as you, smart as you, educated as you, with such foresight to be able to, smell out markets that no one does, smell out profits. But I want to talk about a couple of the misses. You were like, I'm happy to talk about it. Bring it on. I don't just want to show the positive. I'll show, some of the negatives. And I respect that a lot. So kudos
I'm going to explain it away.
well, we know
we'll talk about it.
So that's funny. So talk about why I show this and what I don't have a picture of. Maybe you have it there, but you bought a Jerry Rice during the pandemic. It wasn't a full ticket. It was a stub. What did you pay for the Jerry Rice debut that you have in your hands there, the stub, during the COVID pandemic?
I paid $40,000 for this ticket.
And it was unsigned when you got it originally.
No, it was signed. It was signed.
Oh,
it came signed.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll tell you the story about that, and we'll get back into how it was at the time. You have to bring context to it. So yes, I paid $40,000 for that ticket, and I'm 100% sure it would sell for a fraction of that today. The thing is that at that time I was just coming off selling my Montana debut for $35,000. I had sold a Giannis PSA 10 debut for $15,000, and I was actually using a part of that profit to go into this ticket. So you have to understand, during 2020-21, money was actually worth a lot less than it is today. So when you look at it relatively, yes, if I sold it today, I will get less than 40,000 American dollars for it. But at that time, to spend $40,000 on that ticket felt like spending $4,000 today. It really did. It was like a no-brainer to me, especially with the comps that were flying, and I was using basically profit from other things that I had bought for much less. So it's all relative, but yeah, definitely I wish that I had gotten for less and waited for later. But again, I took advantage of the fact that we had a dip, and as you're showing on the screen, I then circled back and got a full for $7,000, which I think is just like insane that I was able to get that.
Yeah.
And I believe this will be 40,000 before that'll be 40,000. And it is what it is, but I'm happy to have both, and I have no plans on selling either, and anytime soon.
Do you think that stub ever gets back to 40K?
I do. Listen, there's only like 6 or 7 of them after all have come out so far. It's signed, so that adds a lot of value. I don't plan on selling it for less than that, because I would never lose money on a ticket like that. I'd rather keep it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think so.
Okay, good to hear. Good to hear Eric Naierman saying that. Good to hear VBG say it. So you were at the National this year. Crazy enough, out of everyone that I saw at the National, I did not see you in person at the National, but I did see on your IG that you purchased a few things at the National. In fact, one was a ticket. You're a big debut guy. Yeah. You've always been a debut guy over a moment guy. Yeah. Do you think that the recent surge that we've seen in some of the debut ticket sales is because these card guys are coming over and they associate a debut to a rookie, and that's why there's been such a big jump?
I do. I mean, I've always modeled a lot of my potential upside based on the fact of how likely is it that cards guys come over, right? Really, I talk about it all the time. Cards is where it's at with, as far as like lucrative wise. It's got the gambling aspect. That's where the money is. They're much more free with money. They're much more willing to take risks. Usually, they're much more into new ideas. So I model a lot of the things I collect about when are the card guys going to come over and what will get them over. And I'm not like specifically trying to get them over, but I speak in card language because that's where I came from. So usually something speaks to me because of how I look at it as a card collector, and debuts spoke to me as rookie cards. So because of that, I always have this feeling that if I'm a card collector and I feel this way and I'm making a good case and it makes sense to me, I think it'll eventually make sense the same way to other people. And then once that wave happens, I think you do see a lot of upside.
I've probably said this 1,000 times, and maybe it's more. I always say tickets for me, grade meant nothing. And I always kept saying, like, grade will mean nothing. Who cares? It's a few, it's here. What is it? It's a 2, it's a 4. Who cares? But you know what? Here we go. These card guys are coming in. And now all of a sudden, what PSA says about the grade of a ticket is now meaningful, Eric.
Yeah. That's why I have like a full PSA 10 debut ticket collection, as many PSA 10s as I can, because I'm telling you, PSA 10s on tickets, you know how hard that is to get. So on a modern ticket, it's cool. It's going to be rare always. On a vintage ticket, it's just absurd. I think it was a Ticket History who has a PSA 10, The Catch. I think the one with Montana.
I think he does. Yeah,
like, that's absurd to have a ticket from the 1980s, a full PSA 10. That's to me, that's like the chances of having a 52 mantle in a PSA 10. It's just once in a lifetime absurd. So yes, I'm very into like really high grades. I think that's going to really, especially full in high grade, I think is going to be special.
Yeah. And you're probably right, because I think that mentality is coming into tickets, and they only know one way. They know what cards, what drives cards. So if it drives cards, they have the mentality it's going to drive tickets too.
And what drives cards? The fact that the top card guys have always wanted the best example of what no one else can have but them. And in tickets, that's going to be PSA 10s or fulls that only they can have. It's just always like that. You always have to find what the next multi-gazillionaire is going to want in order to say, I have it and you don't.
We got to get Kevin O'Leary into tickets.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, I hope it happens a little more organically, and I think it will. But again, the person who bought my Ruth was a very, very successful, well-known businessman who's now getting into cards. And it happened fully organically. He reached out to me. He's made some other really big purchases in the hobby, and nobody knows who he is and that he's here, but he's here.
Good for him. Well, that's nice. Good to hear. So at the National, what'd you buy? What was the big ticket pickup?
Yeah. So as I was telling you when we were chatting before, I'm in a haze at the National. I'm just like meeting so many people. I don't think I have ADD, but if I did, that's when it would kick in. But I'm just in a haze. I can hardly shop. I can hardly look at things. But if something catches my eye that I know, oh my God, I'm only going to see it here and I'll never see that on an auction house on eBay, I stop and I try to make it happen. And one of those was this. I was at, how many ticket booths are there at the National? Like 4. So I was at one of them, and this one is a Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen debut. It was the Ravens versus the Bills in 2018. And the reason why it's so special, even though it's a modern ticket and most modern tickets are plentiful, is that for a long time I've always wanted it, because Lamar Jackson, when I started collecting debuts, was in 2020, 2021. So Lamar Jackson was a big name at the time. I'm talking to a chair. Where's he going? Well, either way, I'll keep talking. So Lamar Jackson was a big name at the time during the pandemic. He was an up-and-coming quarterback. And I'm like, okay, I have to get a Lamar Jackson and a Josh Allen, because that's when they were rookie quarterbacks and everyone was paying big money for their cards. And I couldn't find it. And I was asking ticket collectors. They're like, yeah, no one printed those tickets. They were all digital. So I said, okay, like a lot of people buy the passes to that game, and I'm just not interested. So I just passed it off as something I'll probably never have. And then when I saw this, the first thing I said to the guy, I'm like, where did you get this? And he goes, do you see the name Townsend on the bottom? And he's like, "That's me. I'm Mike Townsend. That I was at the game, and I'm a ticket collector, so I just thought to have them print it." And he was probably either the only or one of the only people who did that at that game, and that's why it's here today. And I'm very happy to own a paper copy from that game.
It happens to be Mark Townsend, but we'll let it slide. Mike,
Oh,
Mark,
yeah.
it's an
That
M.
was
It's
really
an M.
close.
Yeah. you were close though, but
Yeah.
we won't hold it against you. So talking about cards and tickets, you've kind of figured something out recently about another pretty popular quarterback.
Yes.
So should I try to play the video first, or do you want to set it up a little bit?
No, play it first. We'll see if people can figure it out for themselves.
Let's see if I can actually even play.
Yeah, the most exciting thing is to see if you could actually play it.
It might not play, so there's no
screen?
guarantee.
You could do full screen also.
What'd you say?
See if you could do it full screen also.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea, right? If I could. I think that's the best I can get it. I don't know that it's going to play. Let's see if we can get it to play.
Beautiful cards left.
Oh boy.
Bang,
oh boy.
Jackie.
Oh boy.
The 2000 PSA rookie. This was actually in Detroit in the preseason, and they got this photo, and it ended up being pretty iconic. Matter of fact, I went to Michigan. One of my first preseason games was in Detroit. One of my great rookie cards. Oh, beautiful cards left.
Oh boy.
Bang,
oh boy.
Jackie.
Oh boy.
The 2000
So let me get it back. Let me get back into this. Look at this. So what do you find out? You see this video, Tom Brady up there talking about this amazing rookie card. The rookie card he talks about in the video was taken during a specific game. And what do you put together?
Yeah, the second, I've been collecting iconic rookie card and iconic photo tickets for a while. That really interests me. I have the 97 metal Jordan. I have the what other ones? Oh, I have the LeBron Topps Chrome, which was his preseason debut. So when I have a couple copies of Brady's Bowman Chrome rookie, which is one of my favorite cards and one of the most iconic of his in the hobby. And I'm watching this Fanatics clip one day, and he just blurts out, "Oh, I know the game that this photo was taken." And we all know Brady has an insane memory. So I had no question that he was remembering that correctly. It was just a matter of if I could prove that to PSA and find evidence for it. So I started searching for the game. There was only one preseason game that he was talking about, which was the Patriots versus the Lions on August 4th. And I started doing my research, trying to find video of it, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't find anything. So I reached out to PSA. We had a lot of back and forth. First, we couldn't find any evidence, and then Ryan Hoge, is it that Ryan? That's how you pronounce it. So he really clamped down and did a lot of good research, and he was able to fully 100% confirm that August 4th, 2000, the preseason game of the Lions versus the Patriots was the actual game that the Bowman Chrome photo was taken, and it will be recognized as such going forward if you request it from PSA.
All because of VBG Club.
Love it. I've already bought like 5 copies. I'm not looking to pump and dump, but I do see a lot of long-term value, but this is not financial advice.
None of this is financial advice, but boy, what a great little find for you. It also is part of that overlap from cards to tickets and tickets to cards, and how you can take an iconic card, one of Tom Brady's most iconic rookie cards. He talks about it on a live Fanatics video. You happen to hear it and you're like, oh, that picture had to be taken somewhere. He tells us where it is. Let me see if I can match it up. And let me see if I can convince PSA to put it on a slab, put it on a flip.
Yeah.
And you do.
Yeah, it's a great story. I didn't send it in yet to get it slabbed, but when I do, it'll be on Instagram, and it should be exciting to put into the hobby that information. And I think it will attract a lot of sports cards and ticket enthusiasts who, want a ticket to that game.
Well, before we get off, it would be remiss of me not to have VBG Club, the dentist, on talking about markets and not talk about what's behind you and that market.
What a coincidence. It's there.
What a coinky dink, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's behind you there?
This is currently my favorite Bob Ross painting, a gorgeous, gorgeous seascape. And it's just gorgeous and I love it. And I got it from Bob Ross's son. It was just such an amazing thing. He hand delivered it to me. But yeah, I'm a big believer in that market. It's done very well over the last couple of years. I really think eventually it's going to be, really museum worthy painting that only a small amount of nostalgia art enthusiasts will have a chance to own and hang in their home one day. And it's just my little take on nostalgia crossing into conventional art market that I think will, is both enjoyable and he's so iconic, but also I think will continue to be pretty lucrative as an investment as well.
I think there was a little bit of it. Obviously, you've been a leader in the Bob Ross market, and pushing some of these, and it's been great. We've seen a pretty steady incline in the prices. We saw Drake bought one. We saw Jake Paul bought one.
Logan.
What's that?
Logan Paul.
Right, but they're the same to me. They're both the same. Who cares?
It's like Mike and Mark Townsend.
Yeah, right. Well, no, actually, Mark Townsend is Mark fucking Townsend.
Right, because you're a ticket guy, but Logan Paul is not Jake Paul.
Okay, whatever. Logan Paul, whatever. The Paul guy and Drake and VBG. Where do you see this market going in the future? I mean, I guess, are some of the prices going to come down, you think, a little bit, or are you going to see certain really unique and spectacular pieces, ones that were done on the show, ones that were done, specifically for certain events by Bob Ross? Are those going to continue to climb?
So the answer is both. I do think there'll be a correction as more of them come out of the woodwork, because he did paint many of them. He was, in fact, a painter who lived till, in his 50s, and that's all he did every day of his life. So there's plenty of them out there, and they were cherished and kept. There's very few people who at the time got an original painting from Bob Ross and said he's never going to turn out to be anything and threw it out. So they're out there. And what I found is that they weren't out there at the $10,000 and under price point because no one was willing to come forward and say they have it, because $10,000 is not life-changing money. But now that they're going for more life-changing money, $100,000, $80,000, these are big numbers for people. People are coming forward and being like, I save this, I save this, I save this. So I definitely think his more common basic ones, especially the smaller pieces that are not tied to anything special, will probably correct a little bit down under 100,000. I don't know. So a lot of people who do reach out to me through Instagram, and I get it a lot, that they're really interested in the market and they want to buy them. I tell them to, especially now, be very patient, especially if you're going for just like a run of the mill one. But I'm a big believer that the ones tied to the episodes, which are tied up with Bob Ross, I don't know if they'll release them, but it doesn't look like they are. So those will I think, be future 7-figure paintings for sure. And also some of them that have great storyline behind them. This has a cool storyline. I have the original receipt, and the eye appeal is spectacular. So some of them are gonna have that premium and are gonna be worth more. And I think if you're really serious about this market, either wait for a little bit of a dip to get one at a better price, or really go for it and get a really special one and pay up, because I think whatever you're paying up now will probably look small in 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
It's funny, we're talking about Uncle Jimmy sign Ruth Gowdy cards. We're talking about these unbelievable Bob Ross paintings. We're talking about sealed video games. We're talking about all the things that you dabble in. And then before we came on the show today, you and I were talking about you had a dopamine hit. I had a dopamine hit, and they were pretty benign small items. You're collecting a lot of junk wax cards because they make you happy, and they're $20, $30, $40 cards. And it's nice to see that even VBG Club gets the dopamine hit from something that's not that expensive.
Yeah, you know what? I'll just say an anecdote of myself really quickly. I started collecting mostly the Frank Thomas PSA 10 cards, obviously, in 2022, I think in June, when cards were literally crashing before us. And I remember I was like really depressed at the time. I had never seen this before. I'd never been through the euphoria that was the pandemic in something that I used to be embarrassed about talking. And then suddenly I'm like a superstar that it was euphoric. It was. And then when you drop off from that, you're like, oh shit, is this going to be a passing fad? So I was pretty beat up about it. And I was talking to a friend about it, and I was telling him about how I used to collect Frank Thomas cards as a kid. He's like, why don't you just go back to the basics and do that? And that made a lot of sense to me. I was like, yeah, let me just start doing what I did as a 7-year-old, but doing it like on a higher level where it's not a lot of money. I still get that enjoyment every time it comes in the mail and that dopamine hit you were talking about. And let's see if it goes back up and it's not a passing fad. So that's what I did really. Like the PSA 10 Frank Thomas era was really a therapy session for me to be like, take it back, go back to your roots, why you did this. Not everything has to be $100,000 card that's going to be $200,000 card in a month. Just do it like with passion. And that was really a passion project that I've enjoyed. And it's made me like recentered and think differently about, what's PC, what's for investment, and being able to like categorize that in my mind.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff, my friend.
Yeah.
You've been a pleasure as always to be on the show. I always enjoy talking to you. Every time we go and have lunch, you wind up educating me on something, whether it's, Nirvana worn vintage shirts that now Fanatics is, or is it Fanatics that's saying?
Yeah, today was a big day. Rovell had announced that Fanatics is now selling old vintage clothes, which is, again, what I've been talking about for a while. It's a new art form that I think is going to really take.
Yeah. Follow this guy.
Yeah.
I dig him. Follow him, VBG Club on Instagram. Eric Naierman, aka The Dentist. Like and subscribe to Stub Luv Live. Episode 70. We are done. You're going to hear the outro video. It's pretty cool. See you.